Hello, everyone, and welcome to the end of the road. Let's have the challenge battle for a new champion season review. It's certainly been a long time coming. The season started back in October. Wow, can't I can't even think that far back. It's been long, but we're here. It's concluded. Tonight should be the end of the reunion, so we should to wrap it up all in a tiny little bow and move on to the future of the challenge. Now, some thoughts and opinions on my views of the season, real quick before we get into this. I'm not going to be narking on the season. I'm not going to be saying, "Oh, this was bad. This sucks. This was terrible." I can do it for. There are certain scenes that I am going to do that for, like some certain daily challenges, some certain interactions. But I'm not going to be here saying, "Oh, this was all so bad." No, I'm not here to do that. A lot of other people are doing that. Good for them. The season wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. And I personally don't have the energy to do that myself. So I'm going to look at this like a glass half full type of way. I'm not saying this was the perfect challenge season. I'm not saying this is the best outcome we could have gotten. No. But this is what we got, and it would be short sighted if we just criticize that for what it is. And I'm not here for it. And I'm sure I'll have the same tune when talking about other challenge seasons too, because I don't know, just when it comes to the challenge, nothing seems to be good enough for the general audience. And that's fine, I guess. I'm just not going to devote energy into trying to solve it or fix it. Okay, now let's get into the beginning. Okay? Alright, here we go now. We start with Control in episode 1, where the contestants from episode 0, which I could talk about episode 0, but let's just move this along. Episode 1, they're sleeping in the arena when TJ comes out and brings them to the first challenge and presents a control stage where everyone is working in one team. First time in challenge history where every single challenge competitor is working together to complete a daily. And for this first challenge, they have to go into a mud pit and then figure out a way to get everyone out of the mud pit and solve this pole puzzle where if you put the poles together correctly, they will spell the challenge. Now, my thoughts on this challenge, I think I like the execution. I think they had the right idea going into it. It was just they did not the competitors did not think it all through during when they were coming up with the plan to complete it. They knew how to get out of the pit, but they did not know how to properly solve the puzzle, so they failed. Now, deliberation goes, and we got a few names going around. It seems like it's going to be leaning towards a female elimination, and the three names being brought up the most are Berna, Big T, and Jessica. Berna because she seems to be rubbing off the wrong way with multiple members of the team group dynamics. So that's why they're target on her and just her personality, I guess. Big T because apparently she's an easy target, I guess, and and she's now working with many other people other than Melissa and a few other UK people, so get out a number that's not on your side. Jessica, I mean, Jessica was throwing out a few names, but like the one true person that was throwing out Jessica's name was Jessica. Like she put the target on her own back, in my opinion, when during deliberation she just said, "Oh, I'm here for all these reasons. This reason, I'm here to do this and this." I know I'm being vague with this, but like moving along. So I think that speech made clear that the target should be on Jessica, and it was unanimous vote on Jessica, except one vote for Big T from Horacio. So Jessica goes into elimination and then calls out Big T. And we have our first elimination matchup of the season, Jessica versus Big T, where they have to move, get rid of some tiles that are covering up a panel of glass and then smash the glass. Whoever escapes first wins. And for our first winner, we have Big T and eliminating Jessica. Now, my thoughts on Jessica. I was high on her going into the season. I thought she could potentially do well. She showed potential on Challenge Australia, but this time she fell flat, and I don't need to see her back. Simple as that. Now, here we go, episode 2. We're getting more into the dynamics of the game, seeing the more alliance side of it, where it's US versus UK, really. For the daily, we got competitors are in the water collecting balls, and they have to then go to these ropes on either side of this contraption and then climb the ropes to insert their balls into a tube. The more balls you get into the tube, the more money you get. Now, I kind of like this challenge. Like, I get the dynamics of it. I just think, how are you supposed to get every person up to the platform on these ropes? Like, it doesn't making a human ladder. Like, I don't think it would have worked, or no matter what. I think it was a mission that was designed to fail. It's just how much would you fail? Only 4 people got balls into the tube, so that came out poorly. The guys who going to deliberation, it seemed to be lean more towards the guy's side since we just had a woman's elimination. And the 2 people that were in the most trouble, we had the most heat on them, were Chauncey and Huey. Huey for his lack of challenge prowess, and Chauncey because this is something I didn't know going into the season. I did not know Chauncey had so many enemies. Like he during his deliberation speech, he went, "Oh, did I do your duty? Did I do you dirty?" And one by one, Jay, Michelle, Olivia, Horacio, I think Nurys maybe once. Anyway, they all said, "Yeah, you kind of did me dirty." I didn't think that was happening. I thought Chauncey had allies and friends going to this, but apparently not. So, even though he was technically in the U.S. alliance, everyone voted him in, and he then called out James. And the elimination, they had to run back and forth to insert certain lights into this billboard. I actually like this because it was kind of dramatic and it tested endurance and speed. Chauncey had speed, but James had strategy. James won the elimination, eliminating Chauncey. Now, going into Chauncey real quick, I'm disappointed, really. I thought he was going to be someone to look out for, but no, he fell flat, both entertainment-wise and challenge-wise. If he wants to come back with, like, Amber again, I'm fine with that, but by himself, no. No. Now, episode 3, the challenge was was a big racetrack where you had to do math equations and to then drive around cars with numbers on them to get the right equation, right answers. I like this challenge from a visual presence. It was apparently very hard to do while there, but I think it was good for us, and it showed who could do math, who could give orders, and who could take them. We especially saw this. We saw certain highlights from like Michelle, who was a born leader. Ed and Kylan were able to do math equations like no problem. They got the smart brains, and well, that's actually it. Now going to deliberation. The target's on two women for this, Raven and Berna. And what do you know? We got another bad speech. This time for Raven, so she was voted in to the elimination. And she called out Hooey. Now, apparently because she had low connections, I don't think that was entirely the case, but alright. And this was a very physical elimination. It was a wrestling match to see who could get certain items from the sandpit. Hui got the first one, but then Raven closed it out by getting the next 2 points, eliminating Hui. Now, Hui's the first one that I would actually like to see back. I think she was very sociable. I think her presence on the show brought certain warmth, and this is the closest we've seen her win an elimination. She managed to get the first point in this matchup against Raven, and I think if she could have played it differently, where she prevented Raven from getting a point, she could have won that. And I think then things could have been different. So I would like to see who we had back. Do I think that will happen? Not really, no. Now we go into episode 4, the last episode of this control phase, where the daily challenge was where everyone had to go out swimming to dive down and retrieve a puzzle piece for a certain colored puzzle. And once all the pieces are put together and each puzzle is solved, they then have to swim up their puzzles over to a floating station and connect them all. Get that? They win $50,000. They managed to successfully do that. I think this challenge in particular was the best challenge we got in this control stage. Little flaws, little room for error, and it showed off who can hack it in the water and who couldn't. MVP for this challenge was definitely Ed, and LVP goes to Nurys. Now, came back to the house. This is important to talk about. We have Big T's coming out party, where she comes out to the world, to her challenge family, and to the world about her truce, and we get this whole lot of segments about how this is important, and it just brings down the game a bit and shows that there can be human moments in the show as well, and this was very important. Once the celebrations go down, we then get some party games, I guess. I don't know. We specifically see a game of Truth or Dare that shows Huey's more annoying side to his housemates. And who is up for deliberation? It comes down to Huey or Corey. Now, I explained why Huey is up for nomination: lack of challenge prowess, annoyability, plus he doesn't exactly work well with others. Corey is because he's been trying to play his own hand a bit too much, trying to play loosey goosey and all. He tried to make a move against Zara, and that failed, and now everyone is turning against him. The one ultimately that goes into elimination is Huey, and I don't know why, but he calls out Kyland. Now, the elimination, I'm not entirely a big fan of it, but it's a bowling match really, where you have a ramp and you have to push your bowling balls into a circle of baskets. Whoever gets the balls into the baskets first wins. It comes down to strategy and timing, and I don't know. I don't know. This is a bowling match. There's not very many ways I can be very analytical about this. Kylan wins, Huey loses. Was it predictable? Kind of, but it was very, it seemed to be closer in the edit. Anyway, Huey. I'm not a big fan of him. I don't need to see him again. Let's leave it at that and move on to Chaos. We are now here. Chaos. Boom. Let's go. First daily challenge. Partner it up. And now, and they are spinning around on a truck to get rings on poles. More rings you loop around the poles, more points you get, then you win. The winning pair ended up being Corey and Raven, and they had to choose one male to send directly into potential elimination. Corey, more than Raven, chose Asaf, which got a big reaction from Asaf, something we'll get used to later on. Because, and also Michelle, because we don't know how the elimination goes on. She's attached to Asaf, so if he goes in, does that mean she also goes in? Question. Irrelevant, but relevant for right now. Anyway, we move on back to the house. I mean, deliberation goes super quickly. Like Asaf said, he wanted Kieran to go into elimination with him because at this point, everyone's thinking, oh, we're still going up against each other. So we're going to get Asaf versus Kieran. He says if he wants Kieran, everyone just says, let's throw in Kieran. Kieran goes in. So that's over with. Now we go into elimination, and we get the draw. First time we're seeing it, and this is where the champs come in. Oh yeah, first champ, Jordan Wisely, and he gets to pick between Asaf, Kieran, or a special club in the draw. He goes for the clubs, and he pulls out Kieran. And the elimination they're playing is sort of like a switchback game where they run back and forth and hit buttons that control lights. Sort of like what we saw in All Stars 2 between Steve and Tech. Anyway, Jordan got this win easily against Kieran, and that would now we say goodbye to Kieran. Thoughts on Kieran? I mean, I think he was better on All Stars on Australia. Translating here, I think he was more suited for the control phase rather than chaos. Now, moving on to episode 6, the daily challenge. We got a giant mud pit, and the other than the mud pit, the rest of it was kind of boring with 3 huge teams and going to get numbers out of them to assemble a bingo card. I mean, I like the physicality of it, but as a whole, underwhelming for me personally. But the team consisting of Emanuel, Horacio, Kylan, Colleen, Berna, and Zara won this daily, and they had to choose a woman to send in. They chose to send in Melissa, despite what Kylan and Horacio didn't want to do. but it was majority rules. Melissa's goes in. Deliberation, like this, we kind of figured it was going to be Big T. I'm currently blanking on if there are any other options being flown around. Maybe Mariah, I'm thinking, but we all knew it was going to be Big T. Big T in the goes in. Now it's Melissa and Big T in the draw, and the champ coming in is Kaz. Kaz goes for the draw, pulls out Big T. It's Big T versus Kaz in a. They have to. The elimination is where they roll around in these metal logs, retrieve puzzle pieces, and then assemble a 10-gram puzzle piece. Kaz may be a two-time champ, but Big T has more experience in eliminations and with puzzles, so Big T gets the win over Kaz. Now, episode 7, the Daily Challenge. I liked this Daily Challenge when it was airing. Now that going back on it, it's not my favorite, but I'm not knocking on it either, where there's two platforms in pyramid shapes over the water, and one person is memorizing a number board, or is it a letter board, on one pyramid, and they have to communicate it to the other two on the other pyramid to assemble it exactly on the other. The team that ended up winning this was the team of Horacio, Kylan, and Big T. And with their power, their win, they chose to send in Emanuel, which I guess was a shock, I guess? I don't know. Just came out of left field, but I think long term it was the best move. Now, deliberation comes. Like, Corey is just trying to save himself at this point. Like, he knows he's pretty much doomed otherwise. He tries to throw his throw under the UK alliance a little bit with like Big T and Melissa, saying, "Oh, he's loyal. I've been using these two ladies to get information for my alliance." That did not go good at all. No, no, no. You just showed you're even more of a snake than we even thought you were to begin with. No, 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 no. They sent in Corey right in there immediately. Now it's Manuel and Corey in the draw, and the champ that comes in is Devin. Now, goes for the draw, and he pulls out the third option called the Chaos Club, where he gets to choose any contender who did not win directly into elimination with him. And from what I understood, he was either going to choose Callum or James, but he chose Callum. And the elimination we get is, it's a counting elimination. You get crates, you count what's inside. I personally, this isn't an elimination really, it's a counting game. I personally don't mind it as much as other people do, but like, that's kind of how I've been going this whole season. Like, not putting in as much energy to criticizing what should be bad stuff that other people are doing. I'm just low tempered like that. So at the end of this counting game, Devin wins, Callum's eliminated. Now let's talk about Callum. I think he's really good for being on the challenge. Like, I think this is a game that suits him really well. He's shown to be messy. He canoodled with Michelle this whole time while he still had a girlfriend, and whew, there is beef there now. Whew. And I think if he's on future seasons, we'll get more of the same. Do I think he can make a final again like he did in UK? Maybe, maybe not. I'm happy to see where this goes. Okay, now we are at episode 8, and we get the downfall of the WK Queens. Yeah. The daily challenge is the Tower of Power. Two teams where they have to get a bunch of materials from a junk pile and block entrances to the other team's tower. Then they have to switch towers and get inside the tower first. This is pretty much exactly the same, just on a bigger scale of the elimination Jay did against CT in his rookie season, Total Madness, where he won, and he very much showed and explained his strategy for winning that during this challenge of just getting the small chains and making complicated knots with them. And we saw that work, where on the other hand, Kyland, who only did a not so fast elimination in USA, said, "Oh, get the big ropes and I'll do the knots," which failed and came apart quite easily like shoestrings. Anyway, Jay's team won. They won, and they had to send someone directly into elimination. They sent Melissa again. Now we go back to the house deliberation. This is kind of predictable. Like, we know Big T is going to get sent into the elimination. We could throw out any other names that could possibly go in, like a Mariah, Berna, maybe even a Zara, but we know it's going to be Big T. But she makes it fun at least. I remember the scene where she is trying to bribe Ed with actual money. Like, that's fun. Like, even in the face of absolute downfall and defeat, Big T somehow makes it fun. And Ed too. Like, gotta give them both props. Like, Big T and Ed were real human bright spots on this season. But yeah, deliberation comes around. Big T sent in. We know what's going to happen there. Now, elimination comes. Big T, Miss Little Melissa, in front of the draw again. The champ that comes out is Casey Clark. Clark Furniture Company. Now, she goes for the pull, the draw. She pulls out Big T. Now, the elimination they end up doing is pole wrestle. But I heard on the Grape Challenge grapevine that was not supposed to be the elimination that they were supposed to do. They were supposed to do the next elimination that we're going to be talking about later. But due to the massive amount of rain that was happening during this night's elimination, they couldn't do it, so they switched to pole wrestle instead. But we get Casey and Big T in a pole wrestle elimination. First round goes to Casey. Second round goes to Big T. 1-1, next point wins. This round doesn't last very long as Casey manages to yank the pole from Big T in like less than 10 seconds. So Big T is eliminated. Sad. Now, talking about Big T, I want to see her back. Simple as that. She proved that she can. She no longer just has a social element down, she also has a physical element down, winning a daily challenge, winning 2 eliminations, one against a champ. And I don't know if she can win one of these seasons, but like, having her on the season is just so much fun, and we got too little of it. So Big T, come over. Now we're at episode 9. We're at the downfall of the Queens, part 2. The daily challenge, which featured the Doom Sticks, where everyone was in a partnership and Last partnership gets eliminated, but the winning partnership also gets to take out two teams for some reason. Anyway, teams went down boom, 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 boom until the final two remained, which was the pair of Emanuel and Berna and a three-person team of Asaf, Zara, and Raven. But what did behold? The three-person team of Asaf, Raven, and Zara win the daily challenge. And they decide to throw in, once again, Melissa. So, and that caused massive problems between Asaf, Kylan, and Melissa for that decision. But deliberation comes around, and the plan was to send down either Raven or Zara once an availability spot goes when Big T or Melissa gets eliminated. But they're they're in the winning spot. They want power, so they can't send them down. So they decided to go with the next best scapegoat, which is Colleen. And there's not much to this otherwise. Like, I think Mariah's name was also thrown around, but like it was going to be Colleen no matter what. So we have Melissa and Colleen in the draw. Champ coming in is Tori. Ugh, sick already just saying her name. Anyway, she pulls out Melissa's name. The elimination, we have 2 tanks of water, and there's a puddle. This is not really in Tori's wheelhouse, but like Melissa apparently can't do puzzles and is very claustrophobic and can't really swim, so Tori got the win. Blah. But anyway, we lose Melissa, and Melissa proved that she still has her stuff, even though she's been gone for a few years. She's a new mom. She still has the fire. She still has the charm. She still has the stuff. If she wants to come back, I'm sure there's going to be availability for her. But if she comes back, she's not going to waste any more time. Like, she's going to come for that win to better her life and her kid's life. You know it. Let's get the queens back. Now we're into the second half of the chaos stage. Daily we have is called Skyball. 2 teams. Your teams go out, and one batch is up in this metal contraption, dropping balls down on the other half of their team, and then they have to transport the balls into a pyramid. MVPs of this challenge, I believe, were Jay and Ed. But ultimately, once again, Jay's team won the challenge, and it's a guy's day, and I think no matter what, they were planning on sending down Kylan. Like, there was some resistance a little bit, but like it was going to be Kylan no matter what. And so Kylan's directly into the elimination. Now going back to deliberation, like there was some discourse. Like the 3 guys up for nomination were between Ed, James, and Corey. Corey did a good job getting the heat off of him and making sure his name wasn't in the batch. So it was between Ed and James, but like it was always really going to be James. He was always low hanging fruit, and like his give up on the first signs of struggle, which we see a lot from him throughout the season, really played an impact on the vote. So we have Kylan and James in the arena. Champ coming in. Darrell goes for the draw, pulls out Kylan's name. And now it's Darrell versus Kylan on this contraption where they have to move around buckets of, I believe it's lighter fluid in them, to a torch. And the first one to light all their fires wins the elimination. This elimination was very complicated and tricky, especially for the players to move around. I think it's a good one-time use elimination, but this is not something to be repeated. The winner of this elimination was ultimately Kylan. Now, episode 11, the daily challenge was the Banquet of Champions. We have 4 or is it 5 teams, I believe, that go out and to solve trivia questions, and then they have to bring crates back if they back the first ones to get all the trivia questions right, and then bring back all their crates. Gets to eat a disgusting meal full of animal parts and drinks made out of oil and stuff. It was very, very gross. But ultimately, the team consisting of Corey, Colleen, Mariah, and James win the daily challenge, and they decide to directly send in Raven. Apparently, James and Mariah have problems with Raven. I don't know. Anyway, Raven made a big stink about it and saying, "Oh, you're sending me in, even though you know she's your friend is going to be sending in the deliberation vote," referring to Zara. But the decision's already made. Raven's going in, and then we head back to the house, where we have the most fun we probably had this whole season, when they had a party, an ABC party. And for those who don't know what an ABC party is, it's a anything but clothes party. And this was really fun. We got to see some interesting outfits, and everyone was having a good time. We saw conversations between Zara, Olivia, and Michelle. Some conversations between the guys. We saw the first kiss between the romantic pair of Horacio and Nurys, which was fun to watch. We also got conversations between Zara and Raven, putting all their differences aside and becoming a strong duo for the rest of the season, which honestly they should have done a while ago, because at this point they won majority of the challenges since the chaos stage started, so they should be the ones saying what should be happening from now on, right? Anyway, once the ABC party is done, we go to deliberation, and we all know it's going to be Zara. So Zara is nominated, she volunteers, but that was mute, honestly. So it's now Raven and Zara in the draw. The champ coming in is Laurel, and Michelle is petrified. She does not want to face Laurel at all. Honestly, my opinions on the whole Michelle and Laurel thing is that Michelle does not want to go home because of some idiotic thing that Laurel refuses to get over. She's fine by going home by a stranger's hand, someone that she hasn't offended or even a friend, but petty crap what Laurel is holding on to, and the same thing can be said with Amanda, like petty crap they're holding on to against Michelle. She doesn't want to go home because of stupid stuff like that. Now, the draw. Laurel goes for the draw, pulls out Raven. Now, elimination against Laurel and Raven. Raven wins easily against Laurel in a pegboard. I don't know. Let's just move on. Now we move on to episode 12. Yes, 12. And this is perhaps my favorite daily of the season. We have the pushing of the wall. Teams go head to head and try to push the wall to get the other team knocked off knocked off. This was perhaps my favorite challenge of the season because it involved strengths, it involved strategy, and it involved just making sure your communication goes well so you know how to maneuver the wall. The team that ended up winning this was Zara, Ed, Horacio, and Berna. And they decided to send down Colleen right into an elimination. And like I could go into the multiple talks and all that about who was going to go into the draw was the deliberation vote, but at this point you can sort of get the feeling that you know what's going to happen. Like it's going to be Raven, yeah. So and Raven is ultimately sent in. Now it's Colleen and Raven in the draw. The champ that comes in is Cara Maria. We got the return of Cara Maria. And she does this whole performance with the draw, asking Colleen and Raven, how many times have you been down here? Raven says 3 times, twice into the elimination itself, and Colleen says this is her second time, just the draw so far. And they distinctly point out Michelle, Nurys, Mariah, and Olivia, saying they haven't been down here once. And then Carveria, who says, "Oh, you don't want you safe? You're fine with sending these people down multiple times so you stay safe in your pretty high little castle? Well, guess what? I'm going to make you choose if I get the Chaos Club who among you should be sent down here." So she tries to put on this performance of trying to get the four of them to turn against each other, and she starts with Michelle. Michelle refuses to give a name. These girls are some of the closest friends she's made in all of her years, apparently. So she takes the hit, and Carmia just says, "Okay, you refuse to give me a name. Well, guess what? I'm going to pull the Chaos Club right now. I'm picking you." And so she does just that. She picks the Chaos Club, calls down Michelle, says, "Orange shirt," and sends brings her down. But ultimately, it was a puzzle. Involved strengths at first, so Kara had the advantage. But any puzzle you put Michelle in, she's going to win, and she does that, making Carmaria's return an epic fail, all because Queen Michelle is the queen at puzzles. Now we are in episode 13. The daily challenge is groups of teams. Three of them will have to dive into a tank full of water and retrieve letters, and to give them to the player on top, where they have to spell out a phrase using those letters from the challenge. The team that ended up winning this challenge was a team of Olivia, Ed, Berna, and Corey. Now, with their power, they decided to throw in Horacio, which caused some problems with Kylan, saying, "Oh, this isn't fair" and all that. But they gave their reasons for sending in Horacio. That he's the biggest threat, and no one wants to see him in the final, which is true and accurate. Now we go into deliberation. Like for once, we actually get to see a potential shift in power. Kylan has been gathering the numbers, and now he's got a real opportunity and plan to send in the king of the other side of the house, Jay. When we get to deliberation, we see the first four votes cast for Jay: Kylan, Horacio, Zara, and Raven. And we can, based on the actions Jay was taking earlier by going on a whole tirade and being a completely unlikable person throughout the house, we saw that there was potential that Jay would go in, but no. Certain players loyal to Jay would not flip. Players such as James, Colleen, Nurys did not flip, and so the rest of the votes cast were for Kylan. So now it's Kylan and Horacio down the draw, and the champ coming in ended up being Brad. Now, on the challenge grapevine, apparently Bananas was supposed to be this week's mercenary, but he backed out because he heard what was happening between James and Mariah. So he got Brad instead. He goes for the draw, pulls out Kyland. And so now it's Brad versus Kyland in the elimination. This was an easy elimination win for Kyland. It was a tower-based elimination where you have to transfer balls from the bottom to the top. Kyland won this one easily against Brad. Now, episode 14, we finally get to the end of the chaos phase. Once this is all concluded, the daily challenge was this season's mini final. Now, the team that ended up winning this was completely opposite from what we got at the beginning. The team in first place ended up becoming in last, and the team that was in last beginning almost won, but they were surpassed at the last second because this is a puzzle that Michelle is infamously named after in Survivor, Michelle's Tower. So the team of Kyland, James, Mariah, and Michelle won the mini final and got power this week in the mini final challenge. And they send in Horacio pretty much for the same reasons. And once again, Kyland throws a temper tantrum. So now we go into deliberation, and the majority alliance is wondering what they should do. Like, their two scapegoats of Kyland and James just went into power, so they can't nominate them. So the majority 5 guys of Jay, Ed, Emanuel, Corey, and Asaf now have to turn each other. Asaf's name seems to be protected and hasn't come up once. All the heat that was on Jay is now gone. Corey seems to have allies trying to protect him for some reason, so it ultimately comes down to Ed or Emanuel. So now we go into deliberation, and it goes back and forth, Emanuel, Ed, Emanuel, Ed, Emanuel. And then it comes down to Ed, who I could just say Emanuel, and send Emanuel directly into elimination, but he doesn't do that. Ed brings the chaos, and he decides to burn his vote and make it a tie. Oh yeah, now we're getting spicy. We go around again. Ed does the exact same thing and decides to make it a tie. So no one gets directly sent in to deliberation. So now the power goes to TJ. And you do not want to give TJ the power in the game. This is going to be spicy. Oh, yeah. So now we go into the draw. It's just Horacio there. No one's standing next to him. But the champ that comes in is CT. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Coming in hot, who brushed up the dust, getting ready for season 40, and he brought with him, directly in his hands, a Chaos Club. Oh yeah. Due to them not being able to make a decision between Ed and Emanuel, TJ has all the power and decided to give CT all the power to select anyone who he wants, except for Kyland and James because they won. He goes to Horacio saying, I'm not going to pick you. You can go back up there. He then goes to Jay. Now, this is the point where we think, oh, he's going to choose Jay to sort of get some payback for Jay beating him before an elimination. That's not what he decides to do, though. He decides to say, "We're square, Jay. You beat me fair and square." Here's, and he picks us off, apparently because he knows him the least. So now it's Asaf versus CT in a mass elimination. And Asaf is essentially screwed here, because apparently Asaf is an idiot who can't do math. So CT wins this quite handedly against Asaf, and now perhaps the most protected guy remaining in the house is now eliminated. We say goodbye to Asaf. And now Asaf is eliminated. Let's talk about him real quick. My opinions on Asaf have changed since Total Madness, my first season, and I think Asaf actually brought the entertainment. He brought some social and strategic value. He showed that he can get into the fights. He got into some pretty hefty ones with Melissa, Kyle, and Corey. So he's definitely a character and shows that he can bring drama where he needs to, and he can also be strategic and social within the game. Do I need to see him return? No, but I'll understand if he does, and I think he's definitely improved the most from his first time on the challenge. That's my opinion on the off. Let's end it there. We're here now at the final stage, Conquest. Yes. It's so far we've gotten chaos. There were some things going around saying, "Oh, we're going to have like a 15-person final or something like that, maybe 16." When Asaf was there, because we went through a long period where no one was eliminated until recently it was Asaf. Well, opposite reaction here because we lose player after player. Now, let's get into this daily challenge that also combines as the first purge of the conquest portion, where 3 heats will be dropped off in the middle of the sea via boat, and then we'll have to get to boogie boards, I believe they were, to retrieve rings from buoys. And then once they get to shore, they have to toss their rings onto poles. They don't even have to. They don't even have to. What's that scene where you wrap a horseshoe around a pole? Whatever that is, they don't have to do that with every single ring. They just need to do one ring for their time to be stopped. Whoever gets the fastest time wins the challenge. Whoever gets the slowest time out of everyone gets purged. Now, let's start with the good news first. It came down to 2 people in the end of who had the fastest time. We have Horacio and Ed. The winner of this daily challenge was Ed. So congratulations to him. If we had gotten a Horacio win, even though things would have turned out differently, I think just having these 2 guys in the top 2 shows the capabilities of these players. And as for the bottom 2, we have Mariah and Raven. Now, the player that was purged ended up being Raven. So now we say goodbye to Raven. Now let's talk about Raven for a quick minute. I think she proved herself this season. Like, going out of Ride or Dies and even going into the season, I was talking about Raven's probably one of the weakest women here, as she completely got demolished by Olivia in the hall brawl. Like, the girl couldn't stay in her own 2 shoes. She changed her whole presence on the challenge just from this one season by winning multiple eliminations, winning 4 daily challenges, and she wouldn't go with the grain. She wanted to make her own path, her own legacy on the challenge, and she wasn't going to just lay down and die for all these people who say they're her friends but who was kept throwing her in and in and in again. No, she was willing to say, enough, now I'm coming after you. And that's what I got. That that's what makes a true challenger, in my opinion. Now, we get back to the house. The format now is, instead of a regular deliberation, the winner of the daily, in this case Ed, has to choose one person to save, and then that player gets to choose another, and so on and so forth until we get only 3 left. This was probably the least stressful order that we got so far. Ed chose to stay with this group, the group that, mind you, just tried to vote him in, but he knows even if he goes to the other side, it probably won't go what's good for him either. So he decides to save Emanuel, and now we go through the ringer, ding, 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 until we get to the final person to have to make a decision on who to save, Nurys. And she was put in this position by her so-called friends, Jay and Michelle, to either pick to save Horacio or Olivia, boyfriend or, at this time, best friend. She chose to save Olivia, so she was sending down Horacio, Zara, and Kyland to a 3-person private elimination, the conquest elimination. Now, when we get there, we see this this arena sort of area where each station you have to complete a checkpoint in a sense, and then once you complete the checkpoint, you retrieve a flag and place it in your stand. The first person to have all 3 flags wins the elimination, or in this case, the first 2 people, because this is the only elimination of this conquest phase that has only 1 person going home. The rest are double. But anyway, it was a close race at first, but once Zara got all muddy from a certain checkpoint, she couldn't climb up the wall, and that gave Kylan and Horacio the edge to beat her out. So now we say goodbye to Zara. And I think we need another return from Zara. Like, she proved that she's one of the strongest competitors from this season, as I believe she tied the record for most dailies won this season with 5, which is impressive. And she, like Raven, wasn't afraid to go against the grain. She made close friendships and allies with like Kylan, Raven, Horacio. I think at some point it's Mariah or James. I don't know. She also has now beef with James for backstabbing her in the order placement, so that's something to look forward to. And I just think Zara's a sweet person that deserves the world. So, there. Okay, now, episode 16. No need to get into the formal stuff before the daily. Let's just get right into the daily. We have the worst daily challenge this season, where you have to use a mechanical carabiner to slide down a rope and try not to fall off. If you fall off, you're at risk for being purged. This is dumb. Like, actual moronacy. And I know that's not a word. I'm just wow. This isn't a challenge based on athletics or speed or brains. This is, can you trust your own hands to operate a mechanical machine? And let me just say, I would not know how to utilize this device. I would either be still at the top trying to figure out how this works, or I would just fall down into the water and go splat, because I don't know how to stop myself and if I risk touching the rope while I'm going down, I'm going to tear them apart till they're raw from rope burn. But anyway, um, yeah. The top two people who managed to get close to win this daily were Jay and Horacio. Once again, Horacio loses the daily and Jay wins. He also apparently got a cash bonus of like 15,000, I believe, which he only could spend on a clothing company, I believe, or a hiking company, yeah, whatever. But we also have three people who hit the water from not being able to stay on the rope, who were Corey, Ed, and James. And apparently the rules were if you take the slowest to hit the water, you're out. And this dumb rule led to Ed being purged from the game. Ugh, this hurts. Ed's just a nice guy. Like he's good at challenges. He's just a wholesome human being, a labradoodle, and like going out like this just sucks. Not and for anyone, and for it to be Ed of all people, this just blows. I hope we see him back. I think he's probably has the best chance of coming back out of majority of the guys here. I just hope it's sooner rather than later. We now go back to the house where Jay has to make the decision of who he's going to save, and like it's an obvious choice. He's going to choose Michelle. He even tells everyone this that he's choosing Michelle. So essentially, he's putting the power and the decision not in his hands but in Michelle's hands, which like Michelle being Michelle cannot handle very well as countless scenarios and plans go through her head on how to save her friends, which majority of the people left are her friends. I think in this scenario of her just trying to figure out how to piss off the least amount of people, get her friends to stay safe, and make sure that she isn't put in this position again, I think her brain logic is trying to figure out, okay, how can I get a combination of Kyland, Horacio, Colleen, and James in this elimination? Mind you, only three people can be in the elimination, but I think out of everyone that's left, those are the four that are the least connected to Michelle. So plans go out the window, lists are made, all these things are happening to figure out how the order can go where everyone that's been working with them all throughout the game can stay safe. And so far it seems like that just cannot happen. And even worse, it seems like no matter what combination of people take place, it seems like Olivia is going to be in the bottom three no matter what. Until Michelle, Jay, and Mariah go up to Olivia and say, I will pick you, and then instead of picking Horacio or Nurys, you have to pick Mariah. Say you will do this, and we will keep you safe. So, in deliberation, it's Jay, then Michelle, then Olivia, and at this point, we think, oh, this is potentially going to be a switch because Olivia's working with Nurys, Horacio, and Kyland. So if she picks Horacio or Nurys, it's going to be boom, 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 and we're going to have our first real switch in the game this late. But Olivia changes and she chooses Mariah, who then goes down the list until Corey, until Corey comes to, until it's Corey who has to pick the last person to save, who she picks Colleen, And then Jay gets really upset because apparently Corey was supposed to pick Nurys or something, so Colleen would be in the elimination with Horacio and Kyland. I don't know, it's a big mess, but that's the order we have, and now we have Kylan and Horacio going back into elimination with Nurys. We get to the elimination, and it's basically the same setup, just with different checkpoints. And I want to move this along. I can't go into every single checkpoint, so I'm just going to say it. Nurys kicks ass in this elimination. She wipes the floor with both Horacio and Kylan. And it came down to a race between Horacio and Nurys, boyfriend and girlfriend, and Nurys smoked him. Best challenger of the new era, Horacio? Maybe not. But anyway, congratulations to Nurys. And now let's talk about Kyland and Horacio. Kyland, who definitely came into the season fired up, wanting to change the game and prove himself a true competitor, which I think he did. And he did a lot of similar things to people who to people who lost recently. He showed himself to be a bold presence and a true competitor, and I think there's a high likelihood we'll see him again, maybe even in the next season. And Horacio, similar thing to Kyland, only he's an even better competitor than him, honestly. He's a nice person, a really good person, and he's now in a full blown relationship with Nurys that I'm hoping we can see more of that can progress into the future of the challenge. As I think we can, this is perhaps like the new, and I don't want to jinx it, like CT or DM relationship or a non toxic version of Tori and Jordan. I don't know. I'm excited to see where this goes, and let's see them back. Yeah. Okay, now, episode 17, the final episode of the season before the final. Let's finish this. Now, the daily / purge. When I saw it in the trailer for the next episode, like, I was excited. Like, I'm a big fan of, like, log rolls and all that. Like, I've always wanted to compete in one of those, and when I saw that the final daily challenge was going to be a log roll, I was excited to see it. And based off what we got before in this conquest phase, I thought the format would be similar. One go, first one in gets purged, last one to stay up would win the challenge. That did not happen though, because they decided to change it up for some reason and make it so there will be a losers round and a winners round, which was so stupid. Like, your conquest dailies have been in one go, one serve this entire time, and now you're changing it up? Really? For a log roll. Something that's meant to go until you stop. It's not go until the first 5 go in and then stop and then restart. No. And this twist completely screwed over the person who ended up getting purged. Like, the losers bracket contained Olivia, Michelle, Mariah, Colleen, and Emanuel. And if we did not get this losers round, Olivia would have been purged. Like, she was the first one to drop. And, like, I don't know about you, but, like, I consider that instant karma. Like, you betrayed Nurys, Horacio, and Kyland. Like, and that's basically payback without even needing to do anything about it. That's the universe telling you you messed up. But instead, we got this losers bracket and Michelle got purged. Oh my god, my queen Shell. Mm. The mastermind of the season, the person who orchestrated everything, the queen bee, all that work that she did the entire season trying to play a game for 15 people. Like, she was basically playing everyone's game in her alliance, and she doesn't even make the final and she gets purged from a log roll. That's just injustice. Let's see her back. Come on. Now, the winners bracket contained the other 5 people, and this did not affect anything because honestly, I think even if it went one round, Berna would have won this no matter what. This log roll was also extremely dangerous. Like, from what I gathered after the episode, like, we had a lot of serious injuries. Like, Michelle said that she had broken some ribs, Olivia as well. Well, she also said that she popped an implant. Yikes. Um, Michelle said that she had trouble breathing afterwards, that even if she didn't get purged, that she wouldn't have been able to run the final. They also said that Colleen had gained a concussion from hitting the water. Like, she remembered going on the log once. She didn't remember the second time. Like, I guess she got control of her brain back because, like, they disqualified Jay onto Emanuel for getting a concussion, but they didn't disqualify Colleen. It wasn't even mentioned. None of these injuries were mentioned, but all 3 were extremely serious, and I'm sure everyone else got got bumped and bruised on this log roll. Like, from what I'm a fan of log rolls, like, but I've always seen them close to the water and not extremely high up. I know that this is the challenge, and like, you pay these cranes to lift up these contraptions high above the water, but like, there's a reason why log rolls are close down to the water because that's where they are, where people are the most safe. And so I think this challenge could have done a lot better if they just stuck to the original concept of the game, which was keep the log close to the water so that no one gets incredibly injured. Like, we don't want broken ribs and popped implants and concussions. No. But, and also, just make them go once. Like, seriously, just you've done it for the other 2 games in this conquest phase. Just have them go once, and first one in, purge. Last one up wins the daily challenge. It was that simple, but they had to overcomplicate it. People got hurt, and people got screwed over because of it. That's just that. And as for the deliberation, like, the first 4 people were obviously going to be Berna, Emanuel, Corey, and Colleen. Then we got Jay. Then we got Mariah. And the 3 going into elimination were Nurys, Olivia, and James. Final elimination. And I want to wrap this up quickly, so I'm just going to say it. Nurys smoked them. Like, Olivia didn't get any flags. James got one flag, but then Nurys just wiped him out. So James and Olivia are eliminated. James, total pushover, basically didn't do anything this season other than be Mariah's handbag. I'm glad he improved his legacy from being first boot to almost finalist, but like, I don't need to see James Lockey back. I'm done with him. And now we have Olivia, the fallen hero of Ride or Dies, is now perhaps the most hated female challenger from this season, all because she betrayed Nurys, Horacio, and Kyland. Like, imagine a complete head spinning turnaround People went from crying from her getting hit in the face with a golf ball and nearly dying to now probably wishing she had died because she betrayed 3 friends. Or more should I say, a sort of friend, a ride or die friend, and a best friend. But hey, I'm here for it. She brings drama, she brings hookups. Like, she went really busy with Emanuel this season. And, like, I follow, I don't really follow her on Instagram, but I follow Michelle on Instagram. And, like, she's involved, she's featured heavily with her a lot. So, like, a type duo like that, I'm here for it. So, I'm happy to have seen her back, and we'll probably see her back on the next season. She seems to be like the next like Cara Maria or Tori for some reason. So I'm here for it. We are now here at the final. Let us end this. Okay. First, I want to talk about the few scenes that happened before the final started, which is where, which is we start with TJ going to the club and telling the remaining 7 contenders that they have made the final. We then go back to the house where I guess production set up a feast for them before the final starts. Probably the first good food that they'll have in a while when the final starts. But they are also given letters from their families, which a lot of other challenge officials criticize as being too much like Survivor, and this element doesn't need to be included because it's a challenge and they get video messages from their loved ones like almost every week. So they're not completely cut off from the outside world like Survivor. I personally don't care for like this is like minimum stuff that just like so what if it's here? Like it's not having that big of an impact. And plus, like, yes, they get video messages from home, but like those video messages like span out like to like 5 to 10 minutes per chance that they get, and the calls spread out from like 1 week, 2 week, somewhere in between. Like, yes, yes, they get messages, but like not a lot of them. So it's like fine, let them have their letters. Like they might as well. It's not like they have a lot else. But anyway, now we get to the final, where now we get the original order of how they're going to split the money and how the final is going to be set up. Once again, control, chaos, and conquest. Okay, for the control stage, they're working a team to go out to a fort and collect ropes to bring back and put together a diagram with them. If they can do that in under an hour, they get to keep $16,000 from the final prize pot. For the most part, this goes well. We do get some complaining from Berna. Like she's had the most problems when it comes to big teamwork type challenges, but that does not inhibit them and try and slow them down. What really costs them is when Corey drops a rope basically at the start of the run. So he has to go back and then rerun the course again and bring back the final rope. By the time he completes all that, there's only like 2 minutes left on the clock, and they fail to complete the challenge. and they lose $67. And so now an elimination starts. The group decides to vote in Corey for this elimination, and he calls out Jay. And now it's Corey versus Jay in the control elimination in the final, where they have to retrieve blocks and stack them on a table controlled by their foot. This came close. It came down to a few seconds. Corey ultimately won this elimination, eliminating Jay. Jay this season showed why he's had so much trouble getting far into these games before. Like, we've always saw the sympathetic version of Jay who never gets any luck under him, it's always a push under the sun. We saw Jay sort of dive into this villainous element in Survivor, but never in the challenge. And this season, he went full-blown villain. Like, the power went to his head. He went on tantrums. He definitely doesn't have the sympathy going under him anymore. I think he has the strategy down. I think he has the physical element down. He is good in these games, but the support isn't there anymore. I think he'll be back. It's just no one else will necessarily want to follow him anymore. Now, going into the second part of the final, the chaos, 5 checkpoints, alternating partners between the 6 remaining competitors. And in case you're confused or mixed up of who is left, we have Emanuel, Nurys, Colleen, Berna, Corey, and Mariah. Whoever gets first place by the end of the chaos phase, who wins a special power to send one person down into the chaos elimination. This goes on. First checkpoint was retrieving a hamster ball from a point in the ground and then making it across the finish line. Emanuel came in first, and Berna and Mariah came in last. Then we had to kayak to a point on the beach and solve a puzzle. Emanuel once again came in first, and last was Nurys and Mariah. Then we had the third checkpoint was solve trivia questions and retrieve crates, which we saw in both the Breakfast of Champions and the mini final. Emanuel once again, in third time in a row, came in first, and Colleen and Nurys came in last. Then we had an eating portion. Corey and Mariah came in first, but Colleen finished eating her stuff first, but because she was partnered up with Berna, they timed out because Berna cannot eat anything. And it also translates to drinking as well, because she had to drink tuna and beet juice, which everyone else, fine, get it down and move on, but Berna just could not, which cost her and her partners multiple times. The final checkpoint was something similar to something you see on Survivor, where you have a balance beam and just have to get the ball to the end of the balance beam, put it in a bucket. Berna and Nurys came in first. Mariah and Colleen timed out and came in last. Overall, Emanuel won this portion of the final, and now he has the power to choose who to send down into elimination. He chooses Nurys. And so, now we move on to the chaos elimination. We have the draw again. Everyone's name, Corey, Colleen, Berna, and Mariah, are on these polls, along with 2 chaos clubs. She can choose anyone that she wants, except for Emanuel. So she goes for the draw and picks out Mariah. And then, so we have Nurys and Mariah in the chaos elimination of the final, where they have to solve a puzzle that's like made out of bricks, and you have to place them in this complicated, this cutout square that, and everything has to be a perfect fit. Nurys won this elimination handily against Mariah. So we say goodbye to Mariah in this portion of the final. She dove into the social and strategic elements of this game, but also what I remember most for in this season was her relationship with James. Other than that, she wasn't featured much on the season. I think the chances of us seeing her again are slim, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do. And if we do, I think that we'll get a similar outcome that we did this season. We're now here at the final portion of this final conquest. We have our 5 remaining contenders: Emanuel, Nurys, Corey, Berna, and Colleen. Now, the rest of this final goes the way of a normal final, sort of. Like, you have the checkpoints, you have your overnights, and first one to cross the finish line wins, becomes the champion, and gets the money. Second place also gets 60,000. Third place gets 30,000. Fourth and fifth, nothing. Now, the first checkpoint was just getting these cards, these wooden cards, out of a cage, and then a cage. The first ones to do this get items to help them sleep for over the night. Like, this checkpoint doesn't really matter that much. The same goes for most of the checkpoints. After the overnight, then they have to swim to the next portion, where then they have to run to a station. The way it goes is first ones to get there, then get to rappel down the side of a cliff to the next station, which is a hexagon-like tanagram puzzle, a large one, with a special piece in the center. Then you have to go to a water section where you have to dive down and memorize a pattern of names from former challenge champions. Then you get, once you complete that, then the last checkpoint before you go to the finish line, is a replica of the conquest elimination, but instead of 3 stations, you have 5. Complete each 5 stations, get 5 flags, then you move on and race to the finish line. The way this sort of went, each contender had their own struggles. Specifically, Berna, Corey, and Colleen. Corey couldn't get down the cliff without crying. Berna was a disaster the entire way through. Colleen actually managed to keep her own and managed to keep her own pace until she got to the water portion, which initially she did good in, but once she made a mistake, she wasn't able to figure it out and correct it until 3 other people managed to pass her. By the time all 5 contenders made it to the last checkpoint, we already had a 3-way tie between Corey, Nurys, and Emanuel. Colleen managed to catch up rather quickly, even solving the Sudoku puzzle, which apparently was one of the two hardest stations at this last checkpoint, along with balancing a stack of blocks on a contraption that goes upward. Sorry, that was not very analytical, but it's the truth. The other three stations were cakewalks. These two were the deciding factors. The first person to get all these stations done first was Emanuel. So Emanuel gets this fist flag and then runs off to the finish line, but he has Nurys, who just finished her 5 stations done, and now she's on his ass. So now it's between Nurys and Emanuel of who can get to the finish line first and become a challenge champion. And the champion of the season, Battle for a New Champion, is Emanuel. So congratulations to Emanuel. He did his country, his family, and all challengers, and I really do mean all challengers, proud to become a new champion. Shortly followed behind him is Nurys, second place, $60,000. Oh, I forgot to mention the first prize place money is $250,000. So, now, even though Nurys didn't win, she is still the first woman to cross the finish line, and I'm someone that believes that every season should have a male and a female winner at the end. So even though Nurys doesn't have the official title, she is still a champion in my eyes. So this should have really been Battle for New Champions. So Emanuel and Nurys are getting paid. Now it's a race for third place. Back to the last checkpoint. Corey has his fifth flag, but he cannot get past his mortal enemy. No, it's not Asaf. No, it's not Melissa. No, it's not Big T. It's a balance beam. He cannot get past this balance beam to save his challenge life. So Colleen manages to catch up, finish her last station, has no problem getting back, and she's off now. Running off into the distance to claim third place and get paid $30,000, which in real challenge life she has no problems with that. The edit makes it seem like it's a close race between the two, but like in reality, Colleen had no problem getting that win. And Corey was still probably struggling with balance beam. He does manage to conquer the balance beam, but far too little, far too late. Corey gets fourth, and we don't see Berna finish the checkpoint in the stations. I'm sure she did, but we just see her walk up to the finish line. So that's our season. Berna fifth. Now let's talk about Berna real quick. She was annoying this season. Had multiple meltdowns. Can't keep her calm under pressure. Relies heavily on friendships like Huey, Michelle, and Emanuel in order to fill her self-esteem, and does not play well with others that she thinks don't deserve to be in her presence, like Olivia. I wouldn't be surprised if she returns, but I personally hope that she doesn't return, even though she tied Zara with the most daily challenge wins with 5. That's just how I see it right now. Fourth place, Corey. I think his message of wanting to be a representation for Black gay men is inspirational, and it's something that should not be taken lightly. I think he did well in the dailies. He struggled at first at the social game, but got his feet under it and did well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again. Third place, Colleen, or should I say Moline. That's right, I like the name. I'm going to make it happen. Colleen was invisible this season for the most part, and even though she was on the bottom of her line, she kept on saying, "I'm going to make a move. I'm going to make a move. I'm going to make a move." She never made a move, which is annoying to viewers who want there to be a move. And if you can't keep saying you're going to make a move and end up not making a move, well, there's a chance we'll see her in the future, but I think there's a less chance of that happening than certain other females on this cast. She did impress me with how she did in this final compared to the mini final and her ability to eat gross stuff. Ugh. Second place goes to the People's Champion and an honorary challenge champion, Nurys. I think she definitely made her mark in the challenge history this season. She got into drama. She got into a serious relationship with Horacio. They're still together to this day, happy as can be. It's nice to see when good people end up together. She also, I, she didn't do well in the dailies. She only won one daily, but she showed that she's a force in eliminations, winning 3 of them and sending home 5 people. Kyland, Horacio, Olivia, James, and Mariah. That's some serious work. And I'm definitely confident that we'll see her again in the future, maybe in the next season. I think she is definitely someone that production want to and should promote as a face of the franchise. And let's get this honorary champ, the people's champ, an actual challenge win. Okay? Let's do it. And now, first place, we got Emanuel. Now, I think I said this back in October, and when I was doing my preseason cast analysis, and I believe I said, do not underestimate Emanuel. He is good at this stuff. He's an all around good competitor, and he won the season. I was right. Everyone else who said he was mid and got lucky, I say, you got played. So, Emanuel is our champ, and I think physically, he didn't. He won 3 daily challenges, which was half less than he did on Spies, Lies, and Allies. And we didn't get. This is why, unless you're Johnny Bananas or even a Wes or a CT or someone that really stands out as a challenge favorite, you're going to get shadowed in the edit. The challenge loves to hide their champions in the edit. So I'm not surprised that Emanuel got a basically non-existent edit. But what we did get to see is he's very passionate, he loves his family, and he knows how to play the game with those he's around. He was very close with Berna, Corey, Colleen, Ed, Jay, Michelle. He was firmly solid within his group. I know he got sent into the draw once, but that was from people who were outside of his alliance, and he almost got sent into the final draw of the chaos phase between himself and Ed, but his friendship and who was friendship with Ed ultimately saved him because Ed was the deciding factor and he decided to make it a tie versus just sending Emanuel in and getting this over with. I don't think if what Ed and Emanuel have, who, as far as the friendship goes and the trust goes, was real, Ed wouldn't have done that. So there's definitely credit to give Emanuel for that. He's also a definite player. Like we saw him have a. He said he had a girlfriend. I definitely had a girlfriend while the season was happening, and he brought definitely. He's definitely a ladies' man. Like he had Olivia, Colleen, Raven wanting him a lot, and it's a shame we didn't get to see more of that. Like I think the episode that dove into that the most was I can't remember. It's either 7 or 8. I know it was early chaos phase. I know that for sure. I think now that Emmanuel's a champ, we will definitely get to see more of him in the future. The challenge will want to bring him up more, and like I think when he returns, people will have a reaction to the vets will have a reaction to him. People are thinking like a turbo reaction. No, Emmanuel's not like that. I think it's more like a yes reaction, like when Yes won All Stars and came back for All Stars 3. That's what I think will happen with Emmanuel when he returns. But I'm happy with this outcome. I think there's alternates that would have been better, like a Nurys, but I'm content with this outcome. I'm content with this season, and I'm choosing to move on in a positive way. Good job, Emmanuel. I hope you and your family are happy and deserving of the world. Alright, now it's time to wrap this all up. This definitely has to be my longest video ever. I really need to learn to shorten my thoughts. But anyway, let's start with the obvious. The cast for All Stars 4, the trailer, everything dropped recently. Now, my schedule, as you can tell, is complicated, so I plan on discussing that and going over the cast and the potential of the season and all of that to closer towards the release day, which is April 10th. So you can probably expect uh, All Stars for cast assessment to on like maybe the 3rd of April or a week before then, like somewhere in between that time frame. Now, my final thoughts on the season, and I think this season wasn't as good as it could have been. Like I think when we were coming, I thought were just thinking, oh, this is going to be a battle for the ages. It's no holds bar. There's none of the regular bullcrap of what the challenge has become because none of these players necessarily have those relationships that the vets have been building for all these years. We did not get that, but I think the purpose of this season was to give us a breath of fresh air and a break from the norm that we've got for the last 2 to 3 seasons. Like, did we get like Tory deal drama? Did we get Messy Fessy? Did we get the Clark Furniture Company? Did we get Bananas or CT or Wes? Okay, maybe one of those guys would have been good addition. But what I'm trying to say is we did not get the usual cast, so we didn't get the usual season. Like we got something sort of new because before this season, can you say that you knew these players as well as you do now? No, because they were always being overshadowed. But now we know stuff we didn't know before, and we got some real picks for who we want to root for moving forward. So, just for that, I consider this an experimental win of a season. I think there's definitely also some cast members we can drop. We can definitely look at like the first 5 players. I think there's a reason why they weren't here for the reunion. But overall, I think we got some real contenders for the crowns of the challenge moving forward. We gotta remember the vets that we've all loved for many, many years can't play forever. Other and we need new blood to continue the show, otherwise it will wither and die. These players, they're not here for life support. They're here to bring in new life. And I think we're definitely in good hands. So, final remark, wrap this up. This was a necessary milestone in order to progress the future, and I think what we got was a decent outcome. Not the best we could have gotten, but definitely something that we can look back on 2-3 years from now and say, this was a necessary season in order for us to get to where we are now. And looking back, this actually was a good season, and I'm sorry I gave it so much crap. I'm speaking for most of you guys. I'm personally fine with it right now, but like I said, I have low tolerance. So that's it. Long season, finally over. Video definitely came out late. I do apologize for that once again. But for now, I intend to stay on the challenge. We also got Survivor 46 going. So, till next time, Void Tune out.